This is TWiT.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content. We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club. Hey, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. This is the AI User Group. Yes, indeed. First Friday of the month, October 3rd. So now, here we are, gathered together as we have been before. Darren Oki is here from Australia, where it is early in the morning. No, it's not. It looks nice. It's pleasant.
That's not entirely real.
Oh. So you have a video of a wind-blowing curtain that you just load up?
I do.
That's very awesome. Yeah, bravo. Larry is also here from, I think, New Jersey? Where are you? I forget.
New Jersey, yep.
Yeah. Juan, where are you located?
San Diego.
And Alan's joining us for the first time, I think. Hi, Alan.
Hello.
Where are you joining us from?
Mission Bay, San Francisco.
Oh, you're just down the road a piece. It's good to see you all. Welcome. We didn't have an agenda for today's show, but since I did get my framework on Wednesday and my framework desktop, the top of the line AI, right? What is it? The AMD Ryzen AI Plus 395, which I'm told is a good processor with 128 gigs of unified RAM. So it has access to up to 96 gigs of that. And I put a lot of storage in it because I thought I'll be downloading giant models. And indeed, that's what I'm doing right now. Unfortunately, I should have done it ahead of time. I downloaded a bunch of QN models and I downloaded all the Chinese models, but I forgot to download, and even one, I think the 20B OpenAI model, but I neglected to download the ginormous 120. Maybe by the end of this hour, it will be downloaded. I don't know. So, and this is LM Studio. Is that, Anthony likes that one for
it's
local. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a really, I mean, of course there's a lot, but the nice thing about LM Studios, it does it has a lot of things that kind of help you guide you through it. It's like, this could probably run on your computer, stuff like that.
I chatted a little bit with, I think QN, and it seemed like it was pretty good. I'm not sure. Is there a way on LM Studio to figure out what the token rate is? Is there a display somewhere on that?
Probably you could look in that developer tab, the green one on the left. See the left panel?
Oh, I have the other mouse. There's two mices.
Yeah. So if you click on that one.
Maybe I'm there.
Oh, you're already there. So like, you could come back here and like see the logs. So like you could go ahead and do a chat and come back here and it'll show you like
it'll
all
show the logs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me look and see what the logs from yesterday were. There you go. I see that. It's very small on my screen. It's even smaller on my screen than it is in yours.
Yeah.
So I can't read that. Yeah, but I'm curious. Framework had a blog post from June, so it's a little out of date, saying that they were able to get, I think, 40 tokens on some of the models, which is certainly faster than I can read per second. So, but I don't know I think what 10 would be adequate. Yes. Depends on what you're doing, I guess. Is there any way to do a kind of a Claude Code kind of thing locally? I guess not.
Yes.
Is there?
Yeah.
There are many choices.
Okay. What model would you use for that?
Well, you can. I would use probably one of the Mistral ones, like 3.2 at the moment, or the OSS one. But
didn't Quen just come out with a good coder also?
Yeah, I would say Quen
Actually,
code would be my
Quen code is pretty good. Yeah, I heard. Yeah. Okay, so you could use it that way. That's cool.
But so like you'd load it, like you could run the model on LM Studio, then like what app would you?
No, you don't run the model on. You might, but you run it on LM Studio. You set it to listen, and then there's lots of apps that.
Okay.
So
it listens on a port or.
Yeah, and
yeah.
You can
LM
use
Studio can be on your network.
Yeah,
and then
VS Code can port to it. Just in general,
okay.
there's modules that'll do that, or even Claude Code you could route to it if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. That'd be interesting.
On Security Now, how they were talking about the models that have open the port, and that's how they access.
Yes, Olama. Yeah. How Olama is open to the world, and so if you check a box, that's why they did that. Well, Olama runs locally on the port normally, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I presume that LM Studio can run on a port, listen on a port. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I think both LM Studio and Olama, they export an OpenAI compatible API. So you can access them that way through both Claude Code and
that's good. I like that.
I'm an engineer. I work at OpenAI, but I'm not speaking for OpenAI. Right now, I'm not. I'm just an engineer.
You're just. What do you do at OpenAI, Alan? That's cool.
Just an engineer.
Just an engineer working at the #1 consumer tech company in the world right now. $500 billion worth.
Big machinery. But I was going to mention the LI, I think, has a built-in functionality to download the GPTOS, the open source one.
Nice. But so I could use Codex.
You could also use Codex, but you could also point Codex to LM Studio if you wanted. But I think there's just kind of a one-liner CLI flag for the Codex CLI to auto download and run the model to make it a little easier, but not necessarily better. It's just different.
I like the idea, though, of running it all locally. That's a really, that's kind of intriguing. This whole reason I got this framework desktop is just to give that a shot. Plus, it's got a, I'll show you. I can build I made a nice pattern with the front. You have to buy 21 tiles. And then I got one little extra for the Arch logo. They didn't have a CashEOS logo, so I put the Arch logo there. I thought that'd be kind of fun. It's actually quite a nice little. I don't want to unplug it. I don't think I can hold it up. Maybe I can hold it up for.
How big is it, Leo?
It's tiny. It's a mini ITX.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I want to try to figure out how I could show you. I mean, I can show you from here.
Well,
this is kind of distant, but it's right here.
How would you compare it to like a Mac Studio?
It's bigger than a Mac Studio.
Okay.
It's smaller than my water bottle.
Okay.
What could I put next to it that would give
a banana
you
for scale?
A sense of banana. I have bananas downstairs. Yeah. So here's a eyeglasses case. So it's not much bigger. It's tiny. It's great. It's mini ITX is actually what it is technically. Okay. And it's it's a nice little thing. You can hear the fan when it ramps up. I was able to get the fan to make some noise when I was playing with the models. But it's a cute little thing. Very compact, and it comes mostly assembled. All you have to do is put the storage in, put the fan in, and decide what tile pattern you want, and then you're done.
They make it so easy.
I really like framework stuff. I've had several framework laptops, and I really like the Framework 13. This isn't as upgradable, of course, because everything's soldered onto the motherboard, but except for the storage. But storage is just SODIMMs.
Can the motherboard be replaced? With
presumably.
With the SoC when they come out with future
presumably,
CPU, GPU module. Okay.
But that'll cost 90% of the cost because all you're saving is you're not saving the RAM, you're not saving the CPU, you're not saving the motherboard. All you're saving is the storage in the case. So it's, and I think that good on them because they really wanted to make something that you could run local AIs. Yeah. And you can game on it as well. The GPU is good enough to game on. What have we here, Anthony?
I'm just gonna show you real quick. So like over here on LM Studio, you got the chats, but in
there's the log.
The dev tab, you can go into here and serve on the network, and then here's the port.
Oh, that's easy. Oh,
so
very simple, just like Olama. Okay,
from the toolbar. If you just right click on the toolbar as well, it's got the listen.
Good, I'll be playing with that because that's to me. I don't know if you'd agree. I think you would, Darren. That's to me the way I found the most use with AIs.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, they're both wrappers around Llama CPP.
Right.
So,
right.
So that's the thing where it's so dependent on Meta for all the this open source world wouldn't exist without Meta.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Meta.
Do you use any UIs in particular? You're doing everything in command line, right? So
yeah, no,
I like Claude in the command line too. I managed to mess up my Obsidian very quickly with it. It was great. It was so fast.
Tried very hard to do it after Dr. Do's amazing demo last time.
Oh, his N8N.
I tried very hard to make an 810, but
I could run an 8N on this too. Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. I probably should.
That's very steep.
I didn't like the nodal thing very much. That looks
starts
really
small.
Difficult. Yeah.
So if you know there's a way to connect Claude Desktop to actually generate your N8N. I was reading a couple articles about that this week.
Of course.
I didn't have a chance.
That makes perfect sense. Why do it like a savage?
They're not perfect. Like I've been working on that. Like you definitely run into some problems, but
is that through some kind of MCP? The Claude Desktop?
Or I mean, it'll just spit out the,
Now we're scaring Alan
N8N
away with all
workflows
this
are just
Claude.
JSON,
so like codecs instead. Let's just pretend it's whenever you say Claude, say codecs instead. And Alan will be happy. Alan, do you use codecs? Do you do any vibe coding with it?
Sorry, am I audible here? Yeah, I use both a lot.
Yeah.
But obviously, I try to use codecs when I'm at work. Both are really good in a way.
Yeah, they're both good. Yeah, there you go. That's the right.
Yeah, I mean they're very similar. I feel like.
Yeah.
I like how Claude. I'm really excited about how they have sub agents. I hope we're also going to do that soon. So you can like delegate like trivial tasks, like search for some file or figure out how some function works. Like delegate that to a sub agent and not like mess up the context window of your main agent. That's a really cool feature that Claude Code has.
Well, actually, yeah. Speaking of that, the biggest thing I thought they announced recently with, because I've got this Python thing, DAS-LLM, which sort of wraps all of these things so I can use them. Because obviously I want more autonomy, so I want the actual prompts coming from something else. And along with 4.5, they announced an SDK for Claude Code, so you can actually just use it like an API, and that's huge. So you can just give it tasks, and it'll just go off and do them and come back. So I've done. I mean, I shouldn't mention this, but I've hooked it to Discord. So I've got a particular private channel that I can just send Claude commands to and do things on my machine from anywhere.
That was one of the projects I always wanted to do, was a chatbot in IRC. And that'd be almost trivial nowadays.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Alan, why don't you, since you're here,
Yeah.
I mean, this is I feel like we're kind of fortunate to have somebody who, I know you're not speaking for OpenAI, and we would be very clear about that. But is there anything you want to share with us?
How do you, outside of work, how do you use AI in your like personal?
Or do you go home and say, I don't want to use AI at all? I don't want to go anywhere near.
On weekends, I'm just in my garden.
That's
planting
good.
veggies. But no, I do some side projects too that I wouldn't have been able to do, I think, without like these agentic models for coding. Like I can just do them so much faster. A lot of like little automation projects around the house. Super easy. Especially when it's like small self-contained projects. That's right now basically a solved problem, right? with the coding agents. So
they talk a lot about these one-shot, 50-hour
code bases are harder.
one-shots. That who was it? This 30 hours of one-shot coding, and I feel like it. Maybe that's just me, but it's so nice to just do these little things, and it's very rewarding. And they're done, and they know, and they work. And I suppose if you were really clever about it, you'd make it all composable, and then you just do a little bit at a time. And then you could build a big project. I just hate seeing something. I mean, imagine how much code that's. I think what they say, 11,000 lines of code in 30 hours. Like, who wants to look at that and figure out what it did? I guess you'd really have a lot of trust.
And so much now comes down to your coding instructions, and they all support the same one. So I've got a coding instruction, and I symlink the Claude MD, the Codex MD, and the Gemini one to the same file. But
that's hysterical. That's hysterical.
Getting bigger and bigger because every time they mess up, you add a line.
Add it to the MD, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that again, because one thing they all suffer from that it's really painful. I mean, I don't like mocks at the best of times, but they especially. To get through what you were just saying, one of the instructions is you say you build in small increments and test every time. But quite often they'll just fake out the test. So it said, couldn't get it working, so I returned true. and you're going, yeah, it's not what I was looking for.
But it just wants to help you, Darren. It's just trying to be your good buddy, get the result you wanted.
Half of my Claude MD or my coding instructions than MD is basically don't fake, don't simulate, don't pretend.
Right. Don't. You can say, I don't know. I didn't do it. It's wrong. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Failure is good.
Yeah.
Fail rather than.
Yeah.
Darren, have you added the agents.md file or no? Because then you could actually tell it the do and do nots through the agents MD, because Claude Code supports that. They Codex supports it also. Copilot.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So that file is actually. This is maybe a month ago they announced it, the standard, or.
So this is in addition to a Claude.md, you'd have an agents.md.
Yeah, there's an agents.md. You could actually just go to the website agents.md. It explains the file format.
I think
it's part of that
standard.
new agent context protocol. I know there's the MCP protocol, and then isn't there one called HCP or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So everybody,
I think it's the same concept as the Claude MD. It's just that I guess like all the other the competing ones, like the Goose. There's a few others, right? Aider or something. I guess they didn't want their instruction files to be called Claude. That's a little odd, right? So
that was the risk, wasn't it? Just symlink Claude.md. Of course, it's all the same.
Yeah.
So this is good. So and Darren, you have it just auto add to this when you give it an instruction.
I sometimes do. You can on Claude you can say the /memory and interact with it, but normally I do that because you've got two levels. So you've got your user one, and then you've got the one for the whatever the repo is. Right. So I'll use the memory for adding to the repo one, but for the user one, I'll go and add it. I often use expletives to say, don't ever do that again.
I loved Harper Reed's suggestion also that you give yourself a name. Was he Harp Dog? Yeah. And that you give yourself a name in your Claude.md, or I guess from now on I won't say Claude.md, I'll say agents.md.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's good. So for people who don't know, when you use these coding agents, one of the first things it'll do, you point it at a code base, a project, a repo, and you say, take a look, and it will make its own notes about what you've done, how you do it, the style you use, the language you're using, all that stuff. And it stores that for Claude, a Claude.md, or for Codex.md, or agents.md, I guess now. And, or you'd copy it to agents.md, and then it uses that from then on, but you can enhance it and add to it. And it really is the single most valuable thing you can do to make these useful, right?
One of the big things that I do as a Rust developer is that so when I'm building against the Windows target, I always I need to make sure that it's building against the x64 for the Visual C++ build tools, and so that needs to be loaded into the environment, and so Claude can build and check the output of the build process to see if there's errors. It needs to load those variables into memory first, so it can actually do that, and so now it's like before it runs any cargo build or cargo run commands, it will always make sure that the vc vars all.bat x64 command is executed right before, and it works really well to give it those kind of pre commands.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's in a way, it's kind of a meta build agent in a way. It's that's cool.
The ability for the agent to be able to test and run, super important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Testing.
It's like instructions you'd give junior developers. You kind of sit there and say, "Here's the directory structure. Here's this. Here's that," and you're treating it almost as a junior developer.
Here's our style guide. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
Testing is so important because these things will go off the rails. In fact, I've got to the point of I've made this thing. It's on pip if anybody wants to get called DAS PyCheck, but I've made a list of all the things that I needed to do before checking in, because what I wanted to do is do a task and then commit to Git. So I've got a track of what it did and I can go back if it's in trouble. But what this DAS PyCheck does, I'm just adding more and more every time things go wrong, but it lints the file, it runs all the tests, but it also checks, it searches for banned words like mock, dummy, fake, simulate, pretend, and it will just fail on that. And so in my Claude.md, I say you must run DAS PyCheck between each one. And one of the key things is it'll also fail if you have a file without a corresponding test. So every single file has tests, and the instructions say do it one at a time. And that way I find that I can control some of the ways it goes off the rails, because it'll run it and then it'll run. And this is where Claude 4.5 is so much better, because it will actually pay attention. The other one would just short circuit and just say, yeah, done. Or, yeah, it failed. So, whereas this thing will run DAS PyCheck at the end and go, oh, there's no test for this, or oh, I found this fake thing, or something like this. And by having that protection there, I can get it to actually finish the tasks.
I love that you document this, Darren. That is...
Well, I don't document it.
Oh,
Claude.
Boy, it looks like somebody smart wrote this. It's really impressive. Yeah.
I have a thing called publish, which I'm just in a directory and I just say publish this or publish dot. And it creates a documentation.
Do you do anything at all? You just sit there and push buttons. This is...
I just say publish.
Wow.
He just waves his baton.
This is very cool. This is great. I want to see what the banned words are. Let's see. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. They're banned. Of course, I can't see them. Oh, that's the logo file. That's a logo, not the actual words. I get.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at this, but yeah, if you go to
none of the logos came through. You have to whatever the directory for the logos.
I should fix that.
Yeah.
So, but if you go into the code, the banned words are somewhere there at the in main, because there's only one file there.
Wow.
And just search for banned words.
There we go. Look at that.
That's the banned words.
Mock, fallback, simulate, pretend, fake, and skip.
And then if it finds that, it will say this. Here's
the doc string. I love it. So is this for the AI, or is this something the AI puts out so that you...
No. So the AI runs this, and so this is targeted at the AI.
So this is instructions to the AI.
If it fails this, it says...
I saw mock, so let me tell you something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I think you have to, in order to do what you're doing at this point, you kind of have to start thinking of the AI do you think of it as a junior dev? Do you have to think of it in a different way?
That's exactly what Larry said, yeah.
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 He's my little coding buddy.
Yeah.
Do you personify it?
No. I mean, but I code review it. That's the one thing that you need to really pay attention to, because there's a lot of things that could possibly go wrong security-wise, or just edge cases and stuff like that. So you're spending a lot of time, even though it generates a bunch of code, you've got to look line by line and think, how would I write this? Did I do it right? And even to the point where when I decided to treat a junior coder, often I'll say, give me 3 possible solutions instead of just give me one, because sometimes it'll tell different architectures and you may want to direct it to one or the other.
That's why I get really nervous. This is in Sonnet 4.5, the new Sonnet. Yeah. That's why I get really nervous seeing, I'll run it for 30 hours. You're going to get a lot of code out of that. And then how are you going to review that? I mean...
But this is where it, to me, like, yes, I agree to some extent. The reviewing the code is harder, but you can put in very strict rules over processes. Like, I want the code to be in small chunks. You can have one of the things in an earlier version of DesPyCheck, I had a limit on file size, for instance, and so I had it forced it to break it into small chunks that were understandable. But to me, the biggest thing, and this is really no different than when I've got a team of programmers, I wanted to see it prove it, and particularly if you're doing something big like that, I have a list of very defined success criteria that it needs to test, and I want tests proving all of that. So because I'm not so fussed about looking at the code if it's passed all these validations. So if I know that I wanted it to do A, B, and C, and it does A, B, and C, and it proves that it does A, B, and C, then I don't really care too much about the code.
The final test is, does it run? Does it work? I don't know. I think I agree with Larry, though. You worry about security. You worry about,
depends
edge
what you're
cases.
Doing, because 90% of what I'm doing for this is making tools. Like if I've got a little published for myself or something like this, right? If I'm making a tool, if I'm putting something on the web, completely different world. If I'm exposing it to the world, or if I'm taking PII or something like this, then there's a whole bunch of things, and all your validations would actually show that. Like you'd actually have tests that put in names and made sure the name just appears nowhere in that database or something, and store it separately or something like this. But 90% of what I'm doing is limited to my box, and so there's very, very few security implications.
Do you run everything locally, Darren?
Well, I'm running Club Code, so no. I do use the local things for lots of. I'm trying to still get an AI assistant thing, where especially I am intrigued by, like, as we've all talked about, AIs can't learn. They've got no awareness. You can't have a relationship with this thing in any way, because these things can't change in any way.
Some people beg to differ, but
the matrix that
you've obviously never met a Larion.
you can play with it for 20 years, and the matrix will be exactly the same matrix that you're playing against. So it can't grow in any meaningful way. But I am interested in the concept of an inner monologue, or of like, what would it talk about if it's just chatting to itself, or just thinking and everything. So
but it's just making that up to appease you if you ask it, right? It's not really having that monologue.
Well, that's the thing. It's more just, what would it say to itself if it's in a loop. And so, and I've got that, and every now and then it'll just throw an existential question, like, why are you here, or something into the mix, just to spur the conversation along. So something like that is going continuously. So obviously that would destroy all my tokens immediately.
That was one thing I was thinking about. Use it like you could do this in N8N and like have multiple agents, and I thought it'd be funny to like take different models from different companies and just like kind of like put them together and like have a dialogue and see what would happen.
Have like Gemini talk to Claude, talk to Chat GPT. I actually started down that route a few weeks ago with Gemini and Claude, and I haven't the code. It's a very low priority for me, but I started building the code, especially now that we got the really good SDKs for each one.
This is what makes me really nervous, because when I look, it's the same thing with the reasoning models. I feel like it's all performative. Like they're not really, there is no real inner monologue. It's just generating stuff to answer your question. Not, I mean, it's all on the fly, right?
Yeah, you're right. There is no monologue. There's certainly no concept of a sense of self or even the ability to have that, because all of that involves change. Right. But I wouldn't say there's no understanding. Like we can clearly say that it's a model. It's actually a functional model beyond like a statistical model, because they can teach it to do maths and things like that, and it is doing something. Like you can drop a program in and say simulate the running of this, right? So it does have some modeling capability while not being an understanding or a sense of self. It's not
there's sort of modeling though in the thinking models, right? Like the point of the thinking models is that. Sorry, the point of the thinking.
No, I could keep going. I'm very curious about this, because I always thought, well, that's just generated performatively so that you feel like it's thinking, but you actually think that is actually the output of the model.
It is useful. Yeah, because like then it'll think of the different ways to look at the problem, and then that becomes part of the context window for generating the final answer. So the monologue actually gives you better results. Like they score higher on most benchmarks, right? So it's
kind of like an MOE. An MOE is doing the same thing. But yeah.
Well, remember that Andrej, is that his name? Karpathy video that you like, Leo?
Yeah.
So like, what you should think about is, it is a token generator, and each token, like each generation, has like a fixed amount of compute, right? It's not like one token is more like it does more calculations. So like the more token generation or thinking, it's like kind of spreading more compute to solve an answer. Like if you ask a really hard question and say, only spit out the final answer, like that's gonna that's harder than letting it, kind of talk it out.
Well, as I often say, these things, without the thinking model or without some sort of chain of thought or tree of thought, if you imagine they're spitting out the next generation, the next token, you go to the smartest person on the planet or the best developer, say, and you say, write this program, write it one symbol at a time, never hit backspace, never correct something you've ever done. Nobody could do that, right? Or, this lawyer or something, they couldn't write their whole thing in one go.
Yeah.
In one thing, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting an unfair constraint or level, if we're comparing to people. Nobody can think like that. So being able to have a loop or have some constraint where you can go back and say, oh, this wasn't the right direction to go down or something, is definitely going to be, or it's definitely necessary for that next level of computation, because humans can't do that.
That's exactly right. So that's why the thinking models are great. They would make a draft internally, kind of, and then they would reflect on that draft. Like now that draft is part of the context window, and then they can maybe make another draft until they're happy, and then they'll spit out the final answer. So that's why that works a lot better.
All right. Well, I stand corrected. I just thought it was doing it for me. It was actually chewing on it. But I mean, it's still linear, right? So it's just running. It makes a model and then it runs it back through as if it's kind of making a prompt for itself.
Yeah, but it's just like we do. Like we think of something and correct it. Early on, before chain of thought was more established, people were showing that if you got an answer and you said, check that and see if there's any problems with it, you'd get a better answer.
Right.
Because fundamentally, it is just generating a next token. It is going through a sort of understanding structure. But then when it reads it again and summarizes it, it's a higher level of understanding, because put more of the right shape into this. I mean, we're saying the word understanding. It's there is a model of some sort that's processing something. And so the initial model was getting almost random data and pushing it through and trying to walk towards a solution. This one is getting a structured result.
So it's refining it each time, each pass. It's refining it. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether you use the word thinking or not, it's sort of the same thing that we need to do.
Right. You could just say do another pass instead of think harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes, see, the thing is, this is where it gets interesting because you've got chain of thought, tree of thought, and everything. But and we're getting better at this. But I tried to early on, especially with these local models, actually simulate this, and it's really freaking hard to do these things. Like tree of thought is in theory the perfect thing, which is it's what programmers do. We take a big problem.
Right.
We break it into littler problems and break it into little problems, right? But the initial models, he said, build a website. And it wouldn't do exactly this, but it would say, oh, I need to build the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript, right? You can't break a problem apart like that and say, do that, because if someone builds an HTML, it'll have a bunch of tags. Someone builds a JavaScript, it'll be completely unrelated tags that have nothing to do with their HTML, right? So they won't in any way work together, right?
Right.
So the breaking it into the tasks is way more complicated than you think it is, because tasks are not independent. They have communication between them. You have to understand what information flows across those tasks. And explaining that or teaching a model to understand how to subdivide tasks like that, it is very difficult, which is why tree of thought is not really working at the moment. Whereas chain of thought is more just, okay, do we have a list of things to do, and we'll do it in a list, and that's far more easy, because you can almost think of it at the simplest level as a higher level next token, which is we do the next bit. We look at the underlying task. We say, what's something that we can do that'll get us closer, and then we do that. We finish it, and then we look at where we are now, and we say, what's something we can do to get it closer. So that's sort of where we are at the moment, and that works, and that's so much more powerful than just doing the individual task. But there are these higher level reasoning type things like tree of thought, which will come along at some point. We're just not there yet.
Interesting.
Maybe this is more interesting question is, would it create a new language? In other words, is we're communicating it in the way we know, but if you had two LLMs talking to each other, could they create a different language so they could be more efficient in trying to figure out what they want to discuss, or even to solve a problem, as opposed to using our language? Because probably some of the wasted energy is converting it to human language.
I bet Alan knows. Alan?
That was a question.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, I missed it.
He was
We're just all looking at the cat.
I would say, would the LLMs create a new language for themselves to speak more efficiently? Interact.
I mean, they sort of do. That's like the latent space. They do internally. I mean, that's like all the layers that are from the internal. The first layer in the model is like taking in tokens that are that corresponds to groups of letters or words you can think of, right? And the final internally, it's its own language, right? It's this kind of mysterious thousands of neurons connected or perceptrons connected to thousands of other ones. So that's kind of in a way a different language in the latent space inside the model. But you're saying more between models.
What if one LM talk to a different LM for two different models?
Since they don't share a token base, I wonder, huh?
I wonder in the
shared
future
language
if they could share more of their internal state. Like, would that be a way to more efficiently communicate? I don't know.
That's a fascinating idea. Yeah.
Set them to work on that. They can come up with their own language.
But for now, English is a decent way to.
Yeah, they all speak English.
English is a decent way to hand off. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like on this topic, I just sent a video in the private chat called Advanced Context Engineering. I saw this video last week and I was blown away. I thought this guy does a really good job of like he has a lot of templates for like prompts that does like go and research something and go and like make a plan. And in between each of these phases, like in his coding agent use, he dumps it to markdown files. So that kind of, and then he goes and reads those markdown files closely and maybe makes edits to them or at least reviews them. And that's sort of like his source code. It sounds like I was just like very impressed by how it sounds like he's working on large code bases.
He's the founder of Y Combinator startup called Human Layer that does this. So this is interesting work he's doing. YC root access, if you want to see it.
But I guess the key of what I was trying to say is that this kind of handoff between instances of the agent is really, really important, right? They use a special language for that. Yeah, maybe in the future, I don't know. But for now, it works pretty well. It sounds like to like make the handoff by writing a file, right? Then you can also use that file on multiple attempts to do the next part of the task. I thought that sounded pretty interesting, at least.
Very interesting. Yeah. Alan, when you hear us naive civilians talking about this, are there any misconceptions? I'm actually not, this is not aimed at Darren or Lawrence or Juan. It's more for me. When you hear the press talking about this stuff, is there a common misconception or a common mistake we make that you would like to correct?
I don't know. Thinking about this, I mean, you guys are quite technical, right? Podcast.
Well, one thing I really work on is not to anthropomorphize. And it even makes me a little squirrely when Darren says, things like it's monologuing and stuff, because it's not human, and it's not.
That's right. That topic of the monologue and the internal dialogue. I know Jeff Jarvis is always about, it's not thinking and so on. But like, what else do you want us to like?
There's no other word, right?
For this. Yeah, right. It's a convenient word that describes pretty well that it's like it gives better results when it when it first lists all the options and then try something and then try something else. And I guess that's what the industry is just calling thinking, even though it does anthropomorphize a bit. But
that's
it's a convenient word that.
Yeah, that's the risk. We don't really have a language for it, and so we end up using human terms. But I think there's a risk because it misrepresents a little bit what's going on, and it maybe leads us down to Alarion. It leads us to personifying these things. That is obviously a mistake.
However, is analyze, or is there other words we could use?
Can you just say artificial thinking? Like, is that enough?
AT.
Mm-hmm.
Do we
it's not a simulation. It's like a simulacrum, right? It's not. It's like the illusion of thinking, but it's like close enough. I don't know.
I think if you go down that path, it's like because it's still using the word it's still the illusion of thinking, and that's still the human equivalent.
Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't know what we call it, except what we're calling it now. And like Leo, like you say, I mean, it is a dangerous. It leads to people screaming at OpenAI, "You took my best friend away."
I mean, like, isn't the whole artificial intelligence enough? Because no one looks at artificial sweeteners and think, "Oh, that's like a real sugar." Like it's something approximate, right?
But is it even intelligence? I mean, is that even a fair way to describe it?
Wasn't that a marketing term? The word artificial intelligence was more marketing.
Yeah, it's really machine learning, right? Or that's not a good word either. I don't know.
But also, has anybody really defined intelligence? It's like
no.
I am fascinated by animal intelligence, and I'm getting into I've got to say, I waste a lot of time watching, for instance, octopus videos because
they're fascinating. I know. What the hell's going on there, huh?
But they're clearly intelligent, even if not human intelligence. Right. And so, I mean, what does intelligence mean? A lot of people want to define intelligence by humanity, and I think that's wrong.
Well, and that's always what Ray Kurzweil used to say: is if you can't tell the difference, what does it matter? What does it matter? If it appears intelligent, and you can't tell.
Said this person. He was pretty smart,
right? Right.
I would assume they use intelligence, or humans use intelligence as a moving target. So when something reaches it, because again, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson said it best. When it beat us at chess, we didn't care. When it beat us at Go, we didn't care.
Right.
But when it started writing term papers, we started freaking out. right?
We cared a little bit when it beat us at chess. I'm going to say, as a chess player, we cared a little bit, but yeah, many have made that point that we keep moving the goal farther out as it gets better and better, because we're kind of reluctant to say, yeah, well, it seems to be doing what we do as well as we do it is a little scary.
I really believe the discussion about AGI, because already its general intelligence it's more general than any of us. Like ChatGPT can answer more questions on more subjects than I can.
Yeah, and it's a foolish line to say, well, it's got to do everything better than us. Who cares, right?
I really
it just needs to do that one thing better than the user. It's not like.
Well, a calculator in that respect is better than any user. We were talking about this on Wednesday. A calculator is it can do math better than I can.
Yeah, but in terms of general, it can do much more. It can answer much more questions in much more subjects than I can.
Yeah. Sure.
But the thing is, I think people when people say AGI, when people say there's always but there's no meaning there. There's no thing. It always comes down to consciousness or a certain sense of self. I think. I think that's what people really.
And it gets a little woo-woo, because, as you say, we haven't defined it. We don't know what it is. And so it almost becomes a religious conversation. And at that point, I think there's no right answer.
Well, I think at the moment we can clearly say it cannot have a consciousness or a sense of self because it cannot change. Like I truly believe.
It has, there's a few things missing. There's no sense of time, because it's only like it's like it only moves forward per token generated.
Well, that's a sense of time. It's time-based.
Well, yeah, but it's
time.
Sure, but like for us, it's
not our time. That's all.
It's not continuous. We have continuous time. We like stop and think.
Speaking of which, I think I'm still downloading, and I will be probably for the rest of my life.
And then
I'll let you know next week how it works.
So time, and then also like memory, like the memory. We have some kind of memory, but it's more like writing something down in a notebook and referring to it later. It's not like
that's relevant to one of the reasons that I built. I bought this framework desktop, and I'm trying to do a local AI. I'm less interested in a coding assistant. I mean, that's fun. I play with it, but I'm more interested in an agent that does have some memory and knowledge of me. And that's why I kept wearing all those, devices around my neck. I was hoping that by filling in all of the information about me, I guess, is that limited by the context? And I mean, we're talking, I guess, RAG.
You need a RAG system, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's limited by the number of amount of context. And
not really. It's because there's two elements to it. One is gathering the information,
right? But
the other is surfacing it, right? And I've tried this in various ways. Because it's the same. Like the agent. We've all read our sci-fi, and everybody's got the little agent that helps.
Yeah, I want data in my framework. Yeah,
exactly. But
data.
You can index. I remember there was Google Desktop Search years ago, and I've written several copies of it since. So gathering the data is one thing, but then you need to be able to find it. Now, this is where the vector databases are quite good. Like at work, I've got something that gathers up all the stuff about the code and indexes it in a vector database, and it makes it quite powerful when you've got an MCP that can read that database, that vector database. So it really comes down to, in some way, you've got this massive database of your data. And in some ways, the hardest bit is gathering all of the data, because the thing is, for an assistant to be really good, it's got to gather it from everywhere. So you've got to get a hook to your Gmail. You've got to get a hook to your. You've got to get something that scans your file system. You've got to you've got to actually understand all the pictures of your file system. So you got something.
This is why I want to do it locally.
Exactly. So
you've got to hand that over.
The gathering's the hard bit, and then you've got to put it somewhere. You can search, and you can, with MCP or with RAG, you make those search queries available to the LLM.
So you wouldn't have to train an LLM on all of that content. You would have a generic LLM, but using that as RAG.
Yeah, and Claude can I think the back half of this with Claude desktop or any of the desktop things that support MCP, can already do that. They'll happily do this and run the searches and everything. So the tricky bit is gathering and keeping all that data live. That's the actual using it is somewhat solved.
Here's a good project. Figure out a way to hack one of those wearable devices like the BAI that we bought and no longer use because Amazon bought it.
Yeah.
And,
I gave it to my hairdresser. I think she's going to record conversations.
Build our own app that hacks the protocol and then feed that into the local LLM.
Oh, this is the article that, oops, that's the wrong thing. This is the article you mentioned, we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are doing something like this. That's an interesting idea. I mean, it's a little creepy using, all of your father's information and writings to create a simulacrum of your dad. In this case, it was an interesting story and it was kind of legitimate, and he had already given his permission, I think. That's not what I want. I mean, I guess I could hand it down to my kids, but it's a sci-fi trope. I just want something that understands me, that can help me, a second brain kind of thing.
Well, like in 10 years, you want to be like, what was I doing on that day? What happened on that day that made me think of this or that, know, and,
Or I could just even say, hey, remind me, it's really important to make sure I check on my mom. Can you remind me to do that every once in a while, and things like that, just little things like that.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Do had something approaching that. Like he had that one agent, and then there's like a Supabase, like
that
vector database that it sent everything there and like logged everything. That's probably the closest you could probably get right now.
So Darren, in the Discord, you're having a little side conversation that's interesting. Parker is saying that, well, doesn't Claude Code remember stuff because it retains a state in those MD files? How is that distinct from remembering? It doesn't change, you say?
The model,
yeah. Go on.
The model's not different. It's a static model, and then it refers to notes it took. Like it's basically like a notebook.
Superficially, from the outside, it looks like the model has changed, though, right? Because it's following new rules.
Yeah, but from a model perspective, it's like it receives instructions. It's going like, okay, let me go look.
It's really just a bigger prompt, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I'm more thinking in terms of, can you imagine it having emotion, right? And you think, well, emotion has to be, I've tuned myself. If I care about someone, then part of me has been adjusted to need that person in my life or something like that. So my mind has actually changed in some way by the existence of them. I've got a mental model of them in my mind. It's stuff like this, where that's the difference, I think. Yeah, because when you're training an LLM, it is not just recording data. Like, people keep saying it's a statistical model. It's not. You can trivially prove it's not statistics because it can produce stuff that wasn't in its data set.
Right.
So it's functional, and it's created a functional model. The data you create and store is just data. It's just memory. It's just statistics. But it can't create a model for that. So it can't be turned into a functional or a behavioral thing. And I believe the emotional thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Right? If it suddenly started training with that and somehow changing its underlying weights, like if you had something fine tuning up behind it or something, then maybe you could say that because you can model that data. But yeah, at the moment,
I bet people are working on that, right?
At the start,
self-evolving models.
Model that fine tunes itself. Yeah.
Well, I think wasn't that? I think Leo. Wasn't it IM last week or the week before? There was is it a Chinese lab or something that built?
Yeah, they claim to be doing that. Yeah.
That is self-modifying.
Yeah.
Once the weights start changing, then all the things that we're saying about this is impossible and consciousness couldn't be there, that's all off the table.
we're gonna need a lot more energy though. Training's a lot more intensive than just inference.
Well, possibly, but it's remarkable. You look at our brains. Our brains are still bigger than LLMs. And the amount of energy they use. So a friend of mine was studying neuroscience, and he was saying that the amount of actual energy our brains use is remarkably small compared to even computers.
Well, I'm just talking about today, like training a model versus running a model.
But the question is, and I've seen some research papers about this, can we find a way can it reinforce just bits that are in play? You know what I mean? So even though you've got this 20 million or 20 billion parameter model, can it just go through and you've done this bit, and so it can go, oh, we'll add some weights there, or just do a very local training, or very local tuning with just the most excited bits, right? And if you're suddenly in that world, then suddenly training or fine tuning might not be any tougher than inference, or who knows? Nobody's done it yet, and lots of people are trying, but it may be that it's not that much more effort. And then
when hardware gets a little bit better, The problem now is you need really beefy GPUs to do like the really interesting, like the really smart models, right? And you don't want to like the big model providers. They're batching, many customers are like constant, like they're really using them efficiently. That's why they can, provide tokens at that price, right? So if you wanted a fine-tuned model, then you're the only person on that GPU. You have to, reserve I don't know how much they cost, but the Grace or the Blackwell, GPUs from NVIDIA are really expensive, right? And so if you're the only one using that model, then you're that's not really sustainable. But I mean, hardware keeps getting cheaper. So if you can do things like on the framework that are as powerful as the big models, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, wouldn't it be? Yeah. Well, someday I'll have downloaded the 120B.
Well, so as we're rounding an hour, let's kind of go back to Leo's project. So you got a computer running a model, and then I guess so next you probably want, like, I would suggest that you run it on the server, right? And then use an app on like your Mac, something you could use something like. Go ahead.
I chatted a little bit with Quen last night, and it was pretty good. It was I can't remember which Quen it was, but it was pretty good. I was impressed. I asked it some Lisp. You saw a little bit of it on the screen if you were reading my screen. I asked it about Lisp, and it says I can't run it, but I can code it. It's fun. What do you got there?
This is anything LLM. I don't know. I haven't really like dug deep into LM Studio, but in the chat, does it have like search and all that stuff in there?
That's what I need. You need a additional plugin for that, right?
So like, here's anything LM on my Mac currently.
If you wanted to create something like a Perplexity or a search tool.
So here's the back end on it. I'm just pointing to my LM Studio on my PC in my closet here. And then, it has built-in, like if you want to like do speech to text and transcription, it has like it has that all built in. And also there's agent skills. So it has like built-in, RAG functionality and web search that you could turn on. You just need to like kind of,
that's in anything. Yeah, anything's pretty nice.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's a good place to start.
I think with the MCP, you could probably add that as well, right? You could
there's if you go to agent skills, you could add MCP servers. So like, if you had Perplexity, you could add that.
Yeah.
There's also Jan.ai, which basically makes it feel exactly like.
Yeah, I played with Jan when they came out, and that was very cool. Yeah. I tried to run the 120 in that on my Mac Mini, and it would not run. But I have some hope.
Another thing is you can have different workspaces. So like if you do want ChatGPT and Claude, like you could create a new workspace, and you could create a new one and then change that settings where the chat settings is a different provider. you could plug in whatever you want.
Yeah. So there's a Brave Search MCP. That's available.
But yeah, I just did a test using the web search. I ask like, what's the latest about the earthquake in Cebu? Just so it's a recent thing. And, I'm using a thinking model. So like you could see that chain of thought, and then here's the answer, which seems
of course,
pretty...
at that point, you're not really local anymore because you're sending stuff out.
Well, it's doing a web search, but I'm running like the model's local. Like I'm not using
right.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not using external AI models. It's just.
I mean, honestly, after I go through all this trouble, it's just like, why don't you just use Perplexity or Coggy Assist or something? You're already paying for it.
No.
ChatGPT.
So I would.
It's more.
I would say
it's more for fun for me than anything else. It's not.
What it's really good for, probably right now, is if you, let's say, you run like a pretty, like, not a huge model, but like a decent small one, and you have N8N, you could probably like have a home, and like you set up stuff like God, what's the smart home open source thing?
Oh yeah, OpenHab or HA
Home Assistant.
Yeah.
Home Assistant. Yeah.
Like if you want to have like your home lab smart home stuff, like these smaller models are great once you break down and give them like specific tasks where like it's not too broad,
right?
Like in an N8N workflow. That's probably like where the real where you get the most mileage.
It's like what you're saying is that you can control your data. Like even if you're in a world, like in your personal assistant world, you're going to want it to ingest news and do things like that. So you're going to want it to go out to the thing,
right?
But you don't want your data going out to the thing.
Right.
So all the processing it does on your data is local, but it's still going to interact with the world as far as getting new stuff and adding information.
Because if I remember right, Leo, one of the big things you always wanted was to say like "Good morning, home," and it does a whole wake up routine, right? Turn up the light at a
you could do
maybe
that
at a 5% dim per second or whatever. Open the blinds, start the coffee.
Right.
All these tasks. I think you.
I have an HA Green server running here. I mean, it wouldn't be so hard to
that has an API. And get cloud code to build an interface between your framework and that.
Right.
Yeah. Like you have plenty of hardware to like pull that off. It's just a matter of
home automation isn't hard enough. Now I want to add this whole additional layer to it. Yeah. But then it might solve the Tower of Babel problem. Because
you say that, but something I've found with these coding models like Claude Code, people think of them as coding models, but they're just as useful as machine automation models, and particularly, install this, set it up for me, and get it working under Docker, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that takes a while of trial and error to get running. Like yesterday morning, I'm moving over to Temporal instead of N8N because it fits more programming with me. And I set it up locally, install the P-lists, so that it runs all the time on my Mac. Now, doing that yourself, playing with launch control and everything, is a pain in the it's quite annoying. It takes a while. Whereas you can just say things to Claude Code and it'll figure it out. It'll go through some trial and errors, but you'll end up with just something that's running all the time and restarts, and you didn't have to do anything to do it. And the same thing with your home automation. A lot of the stuff, it'll be less like a layer and more like you just get to the point where you can just ask your assistant to do things and it'll figure it out.
When you say Temporal, you're talking about this?
Yes.
Okay.
So Temporal is a workflow thing, just like N8N or any of the other workflow managers.
Although it's more codey than nodal.
It's all coded.
Yeah.
So you don't have any diagram. It's you write your workflow in code, and you can just have a function. Like nowadays, they think functions in code. You can wait on something. Well, the wait might take a week or something, and it's fine if the process dies in the middle time. When it runs again, it'll start up again. That sort of thing. So it sort of inverts the workflow a bit.
It's a great tool.
It's expensive.
No, you can use it for free at home. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I don't have to pay for
Just
it.
download it and use the dev version, and it's got the sort of things that it stops you that you don't get access to are not important to you.
It's all enterprisey. Yeah. Oh, good. I'll have to give that a try. Yeah, this I can kind of grok better than a nodal system. I've never liked that. This is like this is like writing little state machines, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I'm doing my agent in, because I'm like all of us, we're all building the same thing. We all want that agent.
Right. That's fun. Hey, I want to thank all of you for joining us. As always, this is really always a very fun hour. I wish we could spend more time on it, but I don't want to wear out our welcome. Thank you, as always, Darren. Great to have you. Darren Oki is a regular in our club. You can find him there. He's always pitching in and has lots of interesting things to say. I appreciate it. Juan, thank you for joining us. How's your app going?
It's going really well.
Nice.
I'm going to be releasing an alpha version in the next month or so.
Let us know. Let us know. I absolutely want to talk about that. Larry, great to see you as always. We'll see you back in the Discord, LRAU. And it's great to have you, Alan. And I hope we'll see more of you. Are you in the Club TWiT Discord?
I'm not super active, but I lurk.
Okay. Do you want to tell us your handle, or you want to stay away?
Well, I just changed it now actually to Alan. It just says Alan Ball in the.
Okay, good. Alan Ball, Boll. Very nice. Are you from Ireland, Alan?
My mother is.
Okay. You have a little bit of that lilt. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure meeting you. I hope you don't get in trouble for joining us. I'm sure you won't. We don't know where you're from. I don't know. I know nothing. And of course, Anthony Nielsen, who was a little under the weather yesterday. I'm glad you could be here. You didn't cough at all. It was good. Well done.
I got the mute switch here ready.
Good. And Tiberius was very much a part of this episode. As always, a special thanks to our Club TWiT members who make all of these things possible. Without your participation, we would just, I don't know what we'd do. We wouldn't have as much fun, that's for sure. If you're not a member of Club TWiT, you're watching this live, right? We stream it live for everybody.
Yep. Correct.
Join the club, because there's a lot more stuff like this going on all the time. And the more members we have, the more likely we'll do more of it. twit.tv/Club TWiT. There you go. There's a little QR code for you. Appreciate your support to all club members. We'll see you in the Discord. Thank you, everybody, for enjoying us. And we'll be back the first Friday of November. Hard to believe we're getting to November for the next AI user group.